Welcome to Business Smarts Radio with Tom and Dr. Dave, the clean approach to building your successful business. Now, let's introduce Tom Borg and Dr. Dave Miles. Welcome to Business Smarts Radio with Tom and Dr. Dave, where we bring you the clean approach to running your successful business. And by clean, I'm not talking about spick and span and dust bombs. This podcast is all about clean. We're about communication, leadership, engagement.
And no drama.
Yes, and no drama. So those are the topics that we covered today. Now, in our last podcast, we talked about the 3 proven methods to help your team work better together and to help grow your profits. The 3 things that we talked about last time were 1, set an example by giving respect to others in your company. 2, praising the people in your company on a regular basis. And 3, we looked at never criticizing in public, always in private. We got into that a little bit more. The goal for today's podcast is we wanted to take the next 3 podcasts and actually flush these out a little bit more. And like we mentioned last time, these are concepts that people know about. They're, relatively speaking, simple. But just like losing weight is very simple. What do? You eat less and you exercise more. If it was all about just knowing it, everybody would have a size 30 waist and the diet and exercise industry would be out of business. Of course, there's a lot more to knowing it. It's very difficult necessarily to do it all the time, even though we remember it. So that's one of the things we want to flush out a little bit more of these 3 concepts on today's episode. So Tom, talk about a little bit about, like so we talk about respect for others in the company. So tell us a little bit more about that so we can go deeper for our listeners.
I like to think about the analogy Earl Nightingale, the great late Earl Nightingale, had to say about what we get out of any situation. He used this analogy where there was a man who was lost in the woods. He came upon this abandoned cottage. So nearly freezing to death, he decided to get inside the cottage and try to warm up. Well, he got inside the cottage and he went over to the fireplace and he said to the fireplace, "Hey, fireplace, give me some heat and then I'll give you some wood." Well, of course, the man was as cold as he was before he said those words, because you got to put the wood in the fireplace, get it going before you're going to get any heat back. Well, it's the same thing in our businesses and in our departments that we have people that work for us. If we don't give them that respect first, you're probably not going to get a whole lot back in return. So it's a two-way street is what we're talking about. And as a leader in today's day and age, you've got to set the pace. You've got to set the example. It doesn't come from telling people what to do. It comes from your own example. So that's what I wanted to say to begin our program today, Dave.
No, I would agree with that 100%, because when you look at trust and authenticity and respect, that is one of those things that you need to advance that forward. You need to make sure and pay that forward in advance before you start collecting off of that, because you have to, yes, as a leader, just by definition, the people that are underneath you, they may respect the title, they may respect the position, because they have to economically. You're standing in between them and a paycheck. But have you really earned that respect? And just like you said with the heat versus the wood in the fireplace, you have to give the respect first. And then when people realize, wow, okay, they actually do respect me as a person, my talents, my abilities coming into this job, then that allows them to reciprocate and give you that respect back as a leader, and then create a much better organization for everybody to be in.
Well, what we think about today in the workplace, a big topic is engagement, the lack of engagement by employees in the workplace. Well, where does that start? It starts with, are they being given respect? Are they being given the opportunity to feel like they belong to the organization? Are they given the respect that shows them that people really care about them, you see? So this is really a good place to discuss some of our ideas here today on that premise.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and that's one of the things that the podcast is all about. Like I said, you talk about communication, leadership, and engagement are the top 3 things that we talk about.
That's right.
You know, when you're looking at bottom line results for your organization, I mean, the better we can communicate with our people, respect falls into that. You know,
absolutely.
Being a solid leader, you have to have respect for your customers, your coworkers, your subordinates, your peers. You have to have that level of respect. Plus, like you said, as far as engagement,
Mhm.
one of the things that I really liked about, uh, for example, we'll relate that back to lean process improvement. It's all about respect for the people. One of the main tenets
Mhm.
of this isn't just let's just tweak the numbers and drive efficiencies and make things as efficient as possible. I heard Simon Sinek talking today on a talk on a YouTube video. He was talking about companies that always he loves kind of laughing at the verbiage of what can I do to just get the most out of my people. He said they're not a wet towel. You're not going to wring that last
Hmm.
bit of efficiency out
That's
of them.
right.
It's not about getting the most out of your people and extracting stuff out of them. It's all about creating an environment as a leader so the people that are there can do their best work.
That's right. We're talking about creating a culture. We get that
Absolutely.
right, create that right environment. You're creating a culture, and there's so many things that go into that recipe for creating the right kind of culture in your organization. And of course, respect is got to be one of the main ingredients.
Absolutely. And we'll talk about this conceptual model on a different podcast. But one of
Hmm.
the things I've been doing recently, I've been working on a conceptual model, and the three pieces of the model, which is
Hmm.
one of the reasons why it fits so perfectly into the podcast, is the fact of leadership, communication, and engagement. And you
Hmm.
have to have all three of those working together to be able to have a successful culture. If you
That's right.
don't, if any of those are missing, you're going to have a huge gap, and it's going to make a big difference in your organization. And like I said, we'll go into the nuances of that later. But just remember that leadership, communication, engagement are three pieces that are crucial to your organization that go together to build a solid, functioning culture.
Exactly. And you think about what makes a good owner of a company or a manager or a director. It's those very things we're talking about here. And you've got to have that human element inside your organization. It's people are our most valuable resource. It's been said so many times before. It's not the machinery, it's not the buildings, it's not the software equipment, the software that you have or the equipment that makes it all work. It's the people you have. And how much are we putting into those people to make them feel like they matter, like they really are somebody special, which they are.
Oh, absolutely. And the funny part about that is you'll hear that a lot in a very sincere manner, and a lot of
Hmm.
times you'll hear that a lot in a very insincere manner.
Mm.
And let me explain.
Hmm.
From the insincere manner, our people are our most valuable asset. Yes, because you just looked at the P&L statement and realized that three-quarters of your outgoing budget was in payroll. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, these people are expensive. Well, no, no matter what business we're in the people business. If you don't have people
Hmm.
there doing the job, it doesn't matter how many SOP manuals you have and how many systems and processes you have in place. Unless you're 100% completely automated, you still need people to run the machines, even
That's right.
the high level of automation. So the people are what's important. But do they say that because they're looking at their CFO looking at the numbers, or do they say that because they really truly mean it and internalize it and have that respect for their employees that they are the reason that we exist?
Exactly. Daniel Goleman, in one of his books on emotional intelligence, talks about that. How do we get to the point where we're actually referring to people as assets? That's a mistake right there. He suggests. People aren't assets. They're not like a piece of machinery. They're not part of a building or a piece of software. Really, what they are human beings.
Yes.
And to take
It,
that one step further, they're human doings. They're
yes.
actually
Right. And they
people
all
that are
come
doing
correct, and
who they are.
they all come to the organization with a certain amount of knowledge, skills, and abilities that
Yes.
are needed to be able to
Hmm.
serve the customer. Because
Hmm.
ultimately, like Drucker said, the whole point of being in business is to obtain and serve and retain customers. If there's
That's
no
right.
customers, there's no business.
That's right.
So you can't sustain an organization if there's no sales or no revenue.
Hmm.
It's just not going to happen. But I wanted to get back briefly
Sure.
to the
Hmm.
lean process improvement because one of the things that I like some of the like almost like a 360 approach to that respect for the people
Hmm.
because I pulled up one particular source and they talked about that the success of any of these lean initiatives that people put into place, and like I
Hmm.
said, it's super easy with lean or Six Sigma to get into the details and the weeds of the process, which is necessary,
Hmm.
but it hinges on any success of the initiative hinges on that one principle, which is respect for the people.
That's right.
And they gave a couple of examples. I really liked it, and I wanted to share them with you.
Yes, let's
One,
hear 'em.
they talked about out of respect for the customer, We make decisions that'll bring them the most value with the minimal amount of waste. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
customers
Sure.
don't want to pay for waste. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
out of respect for our employees, this is near and dear to my heart. We create environments that allow everyone to do their best work.
Nice.
And then out of respect for our coworkers, we continually strive to optimize our processes to allow everyone to deliver the most value that they can. So we're really trying to look at a 360 view of how are we providing value. And it's not as much as, okay, how efficient can we be, but it's we're doing this out of respect for them.
That's right.
And we don't want the customer to pay for something that that they don't see a value. We don't want them to have to pay for waste. And like so, we don't want to have employees that are just. It's not good for them. It's not good for us. It's not good for the bottom line. If they're just coming in, dragging butt, not wanting to be there, not engaged, and just literally punching the clock. I mean,
that's right. We're talking about a symbiotic relationship between people and the organization which they're part of. So one needs the other, and as a result, that's something that I think will underscore the importance of treating our team members, each other, the people at the top, with respect.
Oh,
Goes
absolutely.
both ways.
And one of the things, as far as when you look at specifically the respect from the leader and subordinate aspect of it, I really wanted to pull in an example from John Maxwell because he's got a couple of different places that he speaks about this. He has a book called The 5 Levels of Leadership, and he talks about it also in his book, Developing the Leader Within You 2.0, which is an exceptional book. I would tell everybody, if you're going in your leadership journey, that would be the one book I would start first, is Developing the Leader Within You 2.0, whole new revision. But when he talks about the 5 levels of leadership, the very first one is position. And so with that one, you're literally, it's like the Peter principle. It's you look, positional leaders look for security based on title more than talent. It's really the Peter principle. You get promoted up into the point where, to the level of your incompetence. I know how to do the work. I know how to supervise people to get the work done. But I did a really good job at both of those. But now I'm in charge of managing the supervisors who have to manage the employees who do the work.
Right.
I'm so far removed from the work that's out of my wheelhouse, and no one's ever taught me how to be in that leadership position. Some ways it's not fair to them, but a lot of ways, like I said, you end up with that security based on my title. Also, they rely on, say, their leader's influence instead of their own.
That's right.
Good for a positional leader. They're not exerting their own influence beyond the title.
That's right.
They have a charismatic or dynamic leader that's in charge of them. A lot of times they're kind of almost by referral, piggybacking off of that. And they can't get people to follow them beyond their defined authority. And like we mentioned before, those are the leaders that literally, if it wasn't standing between the employee and their paycheck, nothing will ever get done. So that's just a cursory level of, I have a position, but that level 2 is called the permission level. So you go from being a position to permission. And that one is really one I wanted to harp on just for a second, because when you give them that leadership position and you're in that level 2 kind of permission type of realm of that level of leadership, you've been given permission by the people that you lead. So when you're first promoted, okay, you've been given permission by your boss to lead, so to speak, or to manage this group of people. So that's really the positional level. But when you get the permission level, you've earned that. You've earned the respect, and you've earned that influence, and you've acquired your people's permission to lead. That's from giving respect to them, earning that with influence, and being, now you've got that respect back because they are volunteer, like, hey, I like this person. I can relate to them. They're good at what they do. They care about me as a person. They create the environment to make it easy for me to do my job. And so now I want to do my best for that person. And the people underneath of you have really given you that permission.
That's right.
Lead. And so that is really where I see respect clipping into leadership, is being able to rise up from that level one leader that is just the title, it's just the position, to going up to that permission level where you've not just gotten permission from the top down to lead the people below you. The people below you have given permission for you to now lead them, and they're
Ah,
more willing leaders because of the respect you've given them and the influence that you built amongst your team.
that's right. That's a great way of looking at it.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe we should wrap things up and summarize a few points for our listeners today.
Absolutely. Well, in summary, one of the biggest things that you can do is respect the people that work there. And when you
Mhm.
look at it, like I said, there's a few things that you need to remember, that this is like a 360 type of view. This isn't just, I'm the leader, I'm in charge, I own the business, blah blah blah.
Right.
Give me the respect. That's
That's
not
right.
that's not the way it works.
Nope.
It's just like the example you gave with the Earl Nightingale story.
Hmm.
Screaming at the fireplace that I want heat before and if you give me heat, I'll put wood in you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, is way too common in organizations. I want respect, but I'm not willing to give you respect.
So we've got to give respect to get it. That's what we
Correct.
want our listeners to hear, for sure.
Absolutely. It's like a bank account, and that is one of
Yep.
the things. You have to make deposits into that respect bank account before
Ah,
you can start making withdrawals.
that's right. And our people are not assets. They are human beings, and they are people that have needs and wants and emotions, and we need to pay attention to that as well.
Yeah, and not to sound corny, not to sound trite, but you do hear the adage all around that, people they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care,
That's
right? But
right.
there is
That's
a
so true.
certain, and sometimes the things that have the most truth to them are so common, you don't want to take them lightly, because that there is a lot of truth in that.
Oh, yeah.
People do want to know that you actually respect them, you care about them as a person, and you are trying to do the best that you can within the
Hmm.
limitations to create the best environment you can for them to do their best work.
That's right.
That absolutely goes a long way. I've been in organizations where they have given them that respect, and it's been an amazing environment to work in. And I've been in places where I've been brought in to actually do a job, deliver content, make some kind of changes in the organization because of a
Right.
level of expertise. And then when you develop the plan and present it, say, hey, here's what you asked for, that's different. That's different than what we've always done before. Well,
Mhm.
yes, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. You brought me in to help get you to the next level.
That's right. So
Yeah, but that's different.
good.
Right. So that way, if you're on the receiving end of that lack of respect,
Hmm.
it's very easy to kill off engagement when you do
Mm.
that.
Oh, yeah.
And also, one thing I will leave a simple example from Marshall Goldsmith that I really, really like,
Hmm.
and I think I would like leaders to be able, and our listeners to be able to take back. It is the concept of adding too much value. And when I first heard that, I'm like, in today's world, all you hear is value, value, value. How is it possible to add too much value? Well, the way he describes it is this: an employee comes to you, and this goes right back to respect. They come together with an idea, and you're the subject matter expert. You've been doing this for years. You probably could do the job better than the people below you because that's probably how you got promoted.
Sure.
They bring you an idea, and it's great. They're just excited. Oh, check this out. They want you to see it. You look at it. Oh, this is great. But one word that always kills enthusiasm.
Hmm.
But if you did this, this, and this, it would be even better. Now, they weren't necessarily asking for that feedback. So what you've done is you might have added 5% more value to that proposal. Yes, you've made it better, technically, by 5 or 10%. But what have you done to that person's enthusiasm by shooting them down like that?
That's
and not
right.
necessarily intending to, well-meaning.
Right.
But you've probably, as Marshall talks about, you've probably reduced their motivation to actually implement and execute the plan by 50%. So look at your ratios. Yes, I've added 5% extra value to the plan. Now it's 5% better, but I've completely demoralized the person. And now their ability and
That's
their
right.
want to enthusiastically go and do this and execute and give that extra that they don't have to.
That's right.
It's reduced by
So,
50%. So what have you actually gained
hmm
for the process?
oh yeah, good point.
So in summary, I want to make sure that people understand that respect is a two-way street.
Hmm
Respect has to be earned, and it makes a tremendous difference in your organization
And
when
it's
you.
something that our listeners need to walk the talk if they're going to get that back from their own team members or employees.
Yes, this is absolutely something that ties in very, very intricately with trust and authenticity that you just can't mouth the words on.
That's right.
People have very highly attuned BS meters anymore, and
Hmm
it's not something that you could just say the words, throw out the platitudes, put the plaques on the wall, and do something different. They're going to pick up on those incongruencies, and your credibility will be shot. So if you
That's
talk
right.
about respect, you truly have to want to give that respect to the other people before you can get it yourself.
That makes sense.
Well, that's all we have for today. We would love to hear your comments. Please go onto our YouTube, subscribe. We would love to see you also give us a review on the podcast on iTunes. But thank you very much for showing up to Business Smarts Radio with Tom and
Thank you.
Dr. Dave, where we talk about the clean approach to building your successful business. And as we mentioned, the podcast is all about communication, leadership, engagement,
And no drama.
and no drama. We will see you next time. Take care. All right, that's it.
That's it.